Nothing was planned. It was really just a massive gift to be getting tracks from DJ Co's to write on. But I was doing most of that separately from him. We weren't in the same room. Um, so it was all very modern in that sense. So I would work on music software in my own house in London. Actually, most of it was in London, and he would work on stuff in his house in Hamburg, and we did it very sporadically. It was over a number of years, and it was like a hobby. So it was kind of like not the serious thing. The other things were more serious or more pressing or more arranged. Like I knew when I had to aim to get things finished for Róisín Machine, which was the album before. I was never even it was never on the cards to do that with this record. From the very beginning, Stefan DJ Coase told me that that's not the way he's going to work, that he has to work when he feels like it. And I was fine with that because there was never a moment in those years where I wasn't quite busy putting stuff out, touring, stuff that I had just put out. And in fact, it came to be finished at exactly the right time. Luckily, there was never a moment where I was like, Stefan, I really need this record, So I just did it the way that he does things, and just treated it like a gift. There was a few where he got really worried, and then it was my turn to step in and say, no, don't worry, it's going to be good, and don't throw it away. And because it would have been another 5 years, really, I guess, if I hadn't have done that. But I think all the producers I work with are perfectionists in one way or another. They're all deep, like really unique, and really are working toward their own aspirations, um, not to anybody else's. So those are the type of producers generally that I go for. And every time there's a new lesson to learn or new lessons to be learned. And I never really know how they work when I start to work with them, and then I discover and allow that. I mean, I'm more impatient and more controlling with other aspects of my career and my life. Um, but with music, because I know that it's the very center of everything, and if it's not right, then nothing else would be right. And that it's always a collaboration of some kind, whether or not, I mean, mostly it's 50-50 collaboration with another very clever producer. Um, but on Overpowered, it was a collaboration with many, many, many great producers, which is one of my albums a few years ago. But, and actually on that album, I was really the boss of that album, but all the others, I was very much the collaborator and just a 50-50 collaborator, and have to kind of sit back and be patient and allow them to show me. And I can only push them so far. I can't sort of say, no, do it again, do it again. Once somebody like Stefan or Parrot or Matthew Herbert or Eddie Stevens or any of them say, no, it's finished, I'm not doing any more. Usually that is the end of it. Um, but so it is like sometimes I get into a situation where it's can be scary and like it's not how I imagined it and so on. And it's kind of that's part of my talent, I think, is being able to stay calm in that situation and allow it to reveal itself to me and to remind myself I'm in this position for a reason. I'm here because of my life brought me here, not some sort of big plan around a board table in a record company. Everything that I do, the music, even everything else, actually. Um, with my work is it's I've naturally got to that place somehow. I've just been living and then I get there, and it's not, it doesn't, I don't know how to do it another way. I do not know how to do anything cynical or very deliberate. Um, I only know how to, this is all I know how to do. So I can't really even claim it as being wonderful because it isn't. It's just how I work. It's just how it is. It's kind of like if it doesn't come from me, then it feels fake and wrong and not the right path. Um, I have plenty of ideas, so I might as well use them as well. Um, and I love, say, clothes, for example. So I might as well do the styling. I'm as good as anybody at doing styling. Um, there are lots of things I don't understand, and I understand a little bit more day by day, year by year. Things like lighting and staging. That's still a little bit mysterious to me, and something I'm still fighting with to get it the way I want it to be. I'm close, though. I'm much closer on this tour than I've ever been. Um, and um, and making videos and creatively directing stuff. Yeah, these are all kind of very mysterious things that I'm learning more about day by day, moment by moment. Um, but you can only really learn by doing these things. Nobody can teach you from afar. You have to get in and do them. The things that I'm naturally perhaps good at is like being in front of a camera, being on a stage, singing, um, words when it comes to it. Um, they're things that are they're the very essence of they're the things that are the essence of what I do. Um, and the rest are just the expansion of that. And then the very, very essence, as I said, is the music. And that's why I'm very cautious not to become egotistical about it, not to become sure that I can make those decisions, make those plans. I want it to stay like a child almost in the center of all of that. But my favorite books, well, the author that I've read most of is Philip Roth. And I think my favorite book of his is that I've read is American Pastoral, which is very interesting book, especially when you think about the times we live in now. There's a daughter that gets lost to, I think, kind of like communist terrorism, and goes around blowing stuff up. It's a bit Baader Meinhof, but in America. And that's a fucking amazing book. I love his writing. I love his whole way of writing, his stories, just characters. He's just a really, it's a crap word, but he's a really cool writer. He writes about cool shit and cool people and characters and ideas and things. And so I love him. And then J.G. Ballard, I love as well. It's a terrible cliche, but true. Um, and while I was here during the lockdown, I read his short stories. I have a book, a compendium of his short stories, and most of them are all based in this place called Stella Vista. And I wrote a song called The House on this album, which is based around one of those short stories, which is about. But Stella Vista is, it's also the place in Cocaine Nights, which is a novel. It's like it's a compound for the rich but it's past. We're in a time that there's been complete institutional collapse. We're not at the end of the world, but we're at the end of civilization as we've known it in the past. And Stella Vista is abandoned, more or less. And the story that I wrote the house about is about a street or an area in this place where all the houses are psychotropic, which was Ballard's way of saying AI, really, because it meant that the houses learned from the inhabitants. They learned how to be from the people who lived in the houses. So basically, all these houses had gone mad from the mad rich people who had lived in them. And it starts at the beginning with, it's very interesting. It starts with an estate agent showing people around these abandoned mansions and not quite telling them the truth about why nobody was living in them anymore. Anyway, the one house that the story is about was owned by a romantic novelist, hence the heart-shaped swimming pool. And then because the couple who lived there, that was a doomed romance, and terrible things happened in this romance. And so there's this, in my lyrics, I put the heart-shaped swimming pool and the darkness under the blue. And then the house locks people in and the house is psychotic. So those stories and about that area reminded me a lot of Ibiza in the pandemic, because it was magical on the one level. It was incredible, but there was this background of authoritarianism, of you couldn't help but remember that the world was falling apart, as well as all this nice, quiet, idyllic, you know, beauty, and if it went on forever, the place would just crumble, just like in the stories. So it was very much something that I related to in that period.
Yeah,
Like J. Ballard was like made for the pandemic, really. He kind of predicted it, so much of what we are living through right now in a certain kind of a way. The other book, important book I read at one point, and it was when I was going into making Overpowered. And I felt I began to get anxious about writer's block. And I got a book called The Artist's Way, and it broke the block and then some. It really changed me. It really gave me a sense of, if ever I need to break a block like that, I can do it like that now. The lessons that I learned from reading that book. You wouldn't put me down for somebody who maybe does self-help books, but in this case, it is literally just just great recipe to sort your head out for being creative. I read the history of Jerusalem last year, weirdly, which has stayed in my head this year for obvious reasons. Um, that's a fucking brilliant, brilliant piece of work as well. So as you get older, you start to like history a lot, really. That you told me 20 years ago I'd be reading books about history, I would have been like, nah, life's too short. But it really is something that gives me some sort of, it relaxes me to know that there's been centuries and centuries and centuries and millennia same problems. you know, it kind of puts things into perspective. I also read Empire, about the British Empire, about 6 months ago. I read that one, and that's very good too. And that just helps you understand the modern world, and how we got to where we are, what the world's built on, and the kind of the world of banking and of globalism and of all these things. It's very interesting to read about the beginnings of those things and who influenced who. Obviously, the Dutch were very influential on the British. It is about the British Empire, but the Dutch were and the Spanish, very influential on the English British Empire. Very interesting book.